just doing what Miami Dolphins.
The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown.
Throwing deep upfield on the near side, man open, touchdown! Looking deep, he's got a man! Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tyreek.
Touchdown!
He's going deep! He's got it for a touchdown! He's in! Touchdown!
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. 1, 2, 3, let's go!
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are, of course, back here for yet another one. I hope all of y'all are absolutely doing fantastic. Yesterday, hey, some things went our way. The Patriots and the Jets, they dropped the ball. I mean, that Patriots ending, what was Jacoby Myers thinking? Some things broke the Dolphins' way yesterday, so good stuff. You know, we're going to get into the usual stuff here, the snap counts, all that kind of stuff, but I got a couple things I want to cover here. First, I want to talk about Tua, and then I really want to get into, you know, who to blame here, because it seems like people want to start, you know, playing the blame game. So let's start with Tua. I am seeing some of the most ridiculous stuff. All you cockroaches were just waiting to come out from under your rocks in whatever part of the world you live in. All of y'all, you went from crickets to cockroaches, right? Crickets when Tua was balling out, you know, doing stuff Dan Marino hadn't done, doing stuff that hadn't been done since Kurt Warner's MVP season, i.e., 3 straight games of 275 or more yards, 3 touchdowns or more, and a passer rating over 135. Guys, in 8 games played already this season, and remember, Tua's played 11. In 8 of those games, he already has a passer rating of over 100 in 8 of those 11. Just for example, Burrow, who's played the whole season, only has 7. Okay? You want to hear something else crazy right now? All right? You know, you want to hear something else crazy? Let's do a little bit of a Herbert comparison. If Tua had as many pass attempts as Herbert, if you just go by yards per completion, he'd have 4,944 yards right now, which would be leading the NFL. It would also be 925 more yards than Herbert as well. On top of that, he would have a far greater touchdown to interception ratio than he already does over Herbert if you were to give him more pass attempts and you were to correlate him over the current stats he has throughout this season. So, like, you know, people forget, if those 3 games weren't missed, we'd probably already have the playoffs locked down, would have torn up the Vikings, would have torn up the Jets, we just would have torched. Like, let's be honest right now, we would either be 11-3 or 10-4 right now if we didn't have to rely on Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. So, as I'm sitting back after the game, I see all the cockroaches starting to come out, and it's Tua's fault. It's Tua's fault. You know, I saw members of the South Floridian media. I saw people in the YouTube community. I saw people in the Twitter community, for example, trying to make a big deal about Tua Tagovailoa's throw to Sherfield. Now, if Trent Sherfield and Tyreek Hill did their job, One's paid $30 million for. The other one got elevated to wide receiver 3 in this offense. If either one of them did their job, the Dolphins win that game. We go from that field goal drive being turned into a touchdown. Really, you want to be 110% honest? If Braylon Sanders doesn't focus on pushing off the defender and does what the only reason he's out there to do is, and that's his 4.48 speed. If he keeps running under his route, and we'll be breaking down the all-22 to show y'all tomorrow, if he keeps running out his route, Tua Tagovailoa between Trent Sherfield and Tyreek Hill dropping, one of those should have been converted, and between Braylon Sanders not running out his route, Tua Tagovailoa should have had 4 touchdowns on Sunday. And those were letdowns. Do you know how many drops PFF charged to our receivers? And remember, this is after the past couple years where our receivers had 5 or 6 drops in a game, and PFF would only give us about 2 or 3. They charged the Dolphins with 7 drops. Tua's completion percentage was 56%. His adjusted completion percentage was 67.9%. Tua Tagovailoa should have had an almost 70% completion game, but his receivers let him down. And because of all of you who just, quite frankly, don't know football, you don't know the nuances of playing the position, you don't know the nuances, hell, all of y'all don't even know coverages. Why do you think we tell people coverages when we do our film breakdowns? Because guess what? If you don't know defensive coverages in the NFL, you don't know how to attack a defense in the NFL. And if you don't know how a defensive coverage is and you don't know how to attack a defense in the NFL, you shouldn't be up here talking about quarterbacks or what this offense is doing because you don't know how to attack the defense. Period. And I'm a blanket this, and whoever this fits for, wear it. I'm the only one in this community that does in-depth evaluations on players in the draft. You know why? Because I'm one of the only ones in this community that knows how to actually watch film. And the other people who know how to watch film, I'm either friends with or they come on this channel. Like players would or coaches would. Period. In this community right now. And y'all out here, it's ridiculous. Y'all don't know ball placement? I even freeze framed it because someone was doubting it in the comments. Tua hit him right in the chest. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you blame Tua for the loss or you put that Trent Sherfield throw on Tua, you don't know ball. Period. I don't want to hear anything else. You don't know ball. Why do you think Tyreek Hill tweeted out yesterday apologizing for his performance? Because he knows damn well he should have had that ball in the end zone. That's why we pay him $30 million to make that kind of catch, and it was right in his hands. And he knows. He went home, and I guarantee that was eating him up. He's like, that's the difference. I make that catch, we win. And I'll put my paycheck on it. I will put everything I've made off YouTube. I will put my life savings on it. That if you ask Trent Sherfield, he takes the blame for that drop. The ball was perfectly thrown. We've seen our receivers make that catch all the time. Trent Edwards bearing down. You are taught to throw it. He put his receiver in a safe position where only he can make the play. You're making that. Again, how many of you actually played the game? Because you're making those throws in that throw. That play is happening in high school and college. What are we talking about right now? Do any of you actually know and watch ball? It's embarrassing to be associated with some of y'all. All because it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Tua actually had a better game than he did against the Chargers. And again, we showed the film. The Chargers, again, a lot of people were letting him down from the play calling to his receivers. And then because people don't know the game, they don't ask the simple questions of, okay, why all season have we seen Tua have his head on the swivel, going through all his progressions, making the third or fourth read when it's there and making the throw? Why have we seen that all year, but all of a sudden in these situations, these last 3 games, we haven't seen it? Because when you are a rhythmic passer, you start forcing it. Like you see guys, when they're desperate, they can force tight window throws. What does Tua do? Tua forces his first or second read because those are usually Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill because he's trying to get the completions to get the offense in rhythm. When you are a rhythm and timing-based offense and quarterback, that's what happens. You start forcing it. But y'all wouldn't even know that. Y'all just immediately revert back to, okay, he's a one-read quarterback without asking yourself, okay, why? Why have I seen him on film consistently all year be going to read 3, read 4, all the time in the red zone or in the middle of the field? Why have I been seeing it all year? And then all of a sudden, when the offense isn't in rhythm, why all of a sudden does he go to his first read? It's because that's him forcing the rhythm of the offense. Holy God, learn ball. Like, please do us all a favor and learn ball. And if Tyreek Hill's making him, why does Tyreek have more yards with him than he ever did with Patrick Mahomes? Oh, well, he's forcing the ball to Tyreek. So then why is Waddle setting new career highs? Why is Trent Sherfield emerging? Why was River Craycraft making stuff happen when he was being targeted? In fact, I'll do you one better. Why are some of Tua's best games this year when he has 8 or 9 receivers and Tyreek doesn't even have 100 yards? Huh? But again, if you watch the film and knew you were watching, right? So I'm at this point with me. Listen, I was the first one to call Tua awful against San Francisco. I was the first one to tell it like it is with Tua. Because at the end of the day, I try to keep it as objective as possible. Not just Tua, on everything football for all of you, because you deserve nothing less. But there's 2 factors that come in with Tua. A, I believe in his ceiling. B, guess what? Like it or not, he's my franchise's quarterback right now, and he will be for next year. And why the hell am I going to root against him or be happy when he sucks? Because when he sucks, we lose. And why would I root against him? Because I need him to win. If you root for this, you're rooting for Tua to be successful. Because Tua's success means success for this. I'm not here to waste years of Tyreek. I'm not here to waste years of any of the players we got on the cheap that are eventually going to have to be paid. Are you crazy? Shout out to the homie Watch Mister. Shout out to the homie Watch Mister. He's still, he just logged on, happy with Argentina's epic victory to let Saturday's loss bother me. But coaching has to improve. Our situational awareness has to improve. FinTop, I agree. Because I'm gonna use your comment to now segue me into the second part. I had to say what I say about Tua, so I said what I said about Tua. Listen, let's talk about the blame game. There's a reason why people say one game at a time and you evaluate players one game at a time, because the blame differentiates for every game. Go to the San Francisco game. Tua Tagovailoa deserves the majority of the blame. The majority, 110%. He deserves so much of the majority of the blame for that because he was missing routine throws he'd made all year. 110%. LA game, no. We've seen a pattern because I said the majority in San Fran because McDaniel deserves some blame because he got outcoached. But now we're seeing McDaniel the last 2 games. Listen, McDaniel and the receivers are more to blame if you want to start pointing the finger on offense right now. The Chargers game, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill out the gate. Dude, Tua was thrown into tight windows and hitting these guys in the hands and they're dropping the football. Now, albeit there were some plays where the refs let us down, right? Because we've seen the last 2 weeks where holds have not been called on Tyreek, for example, that get called for the other team going the other way. Plenty of them. There was a pass interference on Waddle and Tyreek for sure that did not get called this week alone. But those same ticky-tacky calls were going the other way. But you'll never, ever hear me blame the refs, because I'm always one of those people like, if you got to blame the refs, you didn't make enough plays to win the game. Right? Like, that's where I've always come from. Now, do I believe we should have got calls our way? Sure, but, I don't know if they would have changed the outcome of the game, but at the end of the day, the stuff I can put the blame on right now is I came away with this. This is where we're... Okay, so let's talk about this game right here. This is where I came away blaming. I blame the defense for two things. And Boyer takes... And then you got to get into who you blame on defense, right? But Boyer takes a lot of this blame that I'm about to lay out. Situationally on third down, it's been a consistent problem. It's been something I've been pointing out consistently. 3rd and 17, unacceptable. Not only do you not get off the field, you allow them to turn that into a touchdown. Look, if they got off the field, that's 7 points off the board. Listen, we can talk about Tyreek and Sherfield winning the game if they make their catch in the end zone. Hey, if the defense gets off the field at 3rd and 17, you're taking 7 points off the board. Guess what? By my calculations, that means they don't put enough points to win the game. We win. And then we also have a situation where we don't go for 2, we go for 1, so we even have more points than what we would have had. So, okay, we can play it both on both sides if we're going to be objective here, right? You got to get, and we've seen it all year. Poor tackling, situationally not getting off on third down, and some of that comes down to not getting off the field. Sometimes it's either play calling situationally. Boyer has got everyone playing prevent to the sticks, giving everything up, right? You got these guys 17 yards deep, and then you allow Josh Allen to get out of the pocket, create and extend the play so guys can get deeper than our defenders in front of the sticks. They find the soft spot in the zone, and that's inexcusable. So, that comes down to, the pass rush got to finish that off. There's no way you should be doing that. You should be extending to that and having all that time. Players shot themselves in the foot on that one. So, and then you got Boyer's red zone third down play call. Boyer just situationally has been a disaster, but also players situationally have been a disaster on defense too. So, like putting Singletary one-on-one, with Duke Riley coming out of the backfield when Duke Riley's been playing the way he's been playing the last few games and he's got no help. You're asking for an issue. And what happened? Singletary just trotted into the end zone. It's just, so I'm going to say this. McDaniel, Boyer, receivers, and defensive players in third down situations, they would have shouldered the blame from me for what happened in Buffalo. Okay? I don't know how you can't blame the defense even just a little bit when they allowed 446 yards of total offense. They couldn't get their ass off the field on third downs. Come on. Listen, I know the flag out was out a little early on Kader Kohu on that pass interference. I know the flag was out early because I've seen the replays. But at the same time, turn your head, young bull, and you're not getting called. Or at least you're giving yourself a fighting chance of not getting called. You're not going to turn your head, and you're going to keep your numbers to the football, and the back of your helmet to the football in the air, and you're going to have contact with the receiver. You're going to get called, bud. I don't know what to tell you. You learn that at a young age. That isn't something that's new. Okay? Oh, brother, you're at the right place. You want me to hold Jerome Baker accountable? I told all of y'all this. When he got extended, I told y'all that was ridiculous, giving this man... What did I do? When I broke down his contract for all of y'all, if you would think about it, we guaranteed a higher percentage of his contract than we did of Xavier Howard. Now, I know Xavier Howard hasn't been great this year, but there's a couple factors that's why I'm saying this. One, look at what Xavier Howard had given us up to the point he wanted money compared to what Jerome Baker had given us up to he needed the money. Not even close. Two, I think something that not enough people are talking about with Xavier Howard is this. When have we seen him play this much football at the NFL level? He has never been this healthy. Now, I'm not making an excuse for him because he should be playing through it. But my friend here, my friends, let's be real here. Xavier Howard has never played this much football. And now we're asking him to do even more because Byron's out. Jerome Baker gave us that touchdown before that. Listen, I'm the first person to come to if you want to rant about Jerome Baker because I don't like the guy. I like the guy. I don't like the player. But you'll never hear me root against Jerome Baker. You know why? Because if Jerome Baker fails, our second level fails. And I need that second level to be successful so we can win. So that's why even players I don't like, you'll never hear me root against. Never. Never. You know why? Because rooting against them is detrimental and the opposite of being a fan. They still wear my logo. I might like the player, but I gotta root for their success, and I gotta root that they prove me wrong, because that's what's good for what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and what's good for the player is good for our team. So, yeah. But I can't rip him for that touchdown. That touchdown was all because, again, our pass rush let Josh Allen overextend the play. You got to blame the pass rush. If you want to blame the pass, bro, what are you going to hold? Listen, I'm the first one to say he's not good in coverage, let alone can we expect Jerome Baker to hold coverage for 9 seconds? The guy had 5 seconds to throw the football, 5-6 seconds to find someone. Go back and watch the play. If you're talking about the one I think you're talking about the one in the back of the end zone, right? Where Jerome Baker was in coverage in the back of the end zone. Brother, Josh Allen extended that play, and you got to shut that down, man. We know he does that. We see the guy twice a year. It's one thing if you see him every 2 years, every 3 years. We see him twice a year. Javon Holland is not the number one defensive player on this team right now. It's Christian Wilkins or Jalen Phillips. Zach Sealer right now, I would say right now, is our front is carrying this defense right now. Now, Holland had a terrible first half, but he had a really solid second half this weekend. But Sealer, Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, these are the guys carrying our defense right now. Let's call a spade right now. Those are your guys carrying the defense right now. And they're playing outerworldly. Tonight, I'm even going to push back on secondary player. I think Kader Kohou is our best secondary player this year. Holland's been so up and down, and because of what we saw last year in the league, he hasn't been as good as he was last year. But that's also not his fault. That's why you don't see me ripping on Javon Holland, because I understand the context of the situation. Javon Holland has more responsibility than he had last year. He doesn't have to worry about, look at all the people he's had to worry about covering up for Byron Jones or covering up for Nick Needham. Javon Holland has had, the only guy he's been able to rely on is X, and even still X has let Javon Holland down this year. Javon Holland's been let down by the guys around him. What am I mean? Now, I say that for Tua. Oh, you're a Tua-neer. You're making excuses for Tua. But that's the reality for Javon Holland, too, right now. That's the reality for Javon Holland right now. Kader Kohou has been the only guy he can lean on. And Kader Kohou has been our most reliable player overall in the secondary. He's had one bad play. this year, and that was like one play that was really detrimental, and that was the pass interference. Javon Holland, I mean, got burned for a touchdown early in the drive. Him and Fledgling got ate up on that drive. Like, Holland's had multiple, like, had a handful of bad plays. Cater Co, who hasn't yet. So that's why I got to give it to Cater, but I'll give Holland number 2 this year. Now, you talk about overall talented player. You know what I mean? I would give it to Holland, but we're talking about a result base this year. Cater Co, who's been our best player in the secondary. Undrafted out of Texas A&M Commerce and what he's done, unquestionable. But also, guess what? Holland would probably be a runaway Pro Bowl if Byron was back. Even if just Byron was back. Even if X was playing what he's at, if Byron was back, Javon would probably be at a Pro Bowl level right now. So that's why I ain't worried about him, man. I ain't worried about Javon Holland. But again, I understand the context. That's why you won't hear me rip on Javon Holland. I understand the context of why what's happening is happening with Javon Holland. So, anyways, I'm just saying. Listen. Hey, Pep Hamilton groomed Andrew Luck. And he went to Indianapolis. It doesn't mean he stayed in Indianapolis the whole time. Andrew Luck was there. So, listen. Boyer wants to be a scout. All the power to him. Eye for talent and game. It has nothing to do with game planning and executing a game plan with play calling from your side. So, anyways. Let's get into let's get into the information from Saturday. Let's go back. Let's revisit. We got some stuff to get into here today. So, when we get into the offensive snap count for the Miami Dolphins, Brandon Shell, you see the Dolphins had 59 total snaps. Which, keep that in mind because you got to watch at the total snaps our defense are going to have. You see Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle leading the way. Mostert, clear runaway. Running back 1. Durham Smythe. Like, guys, Mike Gesicki had 12 snaps. Hunter Long had 6. Braylon Sanders had more snaps than Mike Gesicki. My God. If that isn't writing on the wall, if that isn't writing on the wall, my Lord, I don't know what is right now. Mike Gesicki had 12 snaps, people. Let that settle in. Whoo! Holy. Oh, man, that's painful. Man. Salvin Ahmed as running back 2 only had 14. See, Mostert has 45. But yet you only give him 6 carries. Again, why do you got to place some blame on that coaching staff? How does this man have 11 carries for over 100 yards and then he only had 6 carries in the second half? Like, what are we saying? Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff, man. Yeah, Trent Sherfield continues to be wide receiver 3 as well. Way ahead of the pack, 32 snaps compared to, Cedric Wilson now having the same snap count as Braylon Sanders is absolutely wild to me. Absolutely wild to me that Cedric and Braylon have the same amount of snaps. Are you serious? Come on. Give him to Ceddy. If Cedric Wilson would have been running that route, Braylon should have been running. Maybe he would have been under it. And not focused on pushing off the defender. The guy is more focused on trying to push off the defender and draw an offensive pass interference penalty than running out his route. And the only reason Braylon's out there is because he runs a 4.48. Figure this one out. My God. The incompetence, I swear. Headaches. Defensively, so they had 78. They had 78 offensive snaps did the Buffalo Bills. 78. They were 15 away from the 93 they had, and they barely beat us. This is why I don't understand. Why are people so up in arms right now? They barely beat us, and they had only 15 less snaps than the 93 they had. And it was in their house, it was in their conditions, and they barely beat us. Man, we showed, I'm going to get into it in a sec. Let's go through this, okay? Ridiculous. So, Bethel, only about 22% of the snaps. Van Ginkel continues to he only had 15 snaps. Noah Benogany, 33 snaps, and it sure showed when it mattered, man, when they started picking on him. You know? Unbelievable. Verone McKinley was the top guy to step in, and once again, Jerome Baker ends up being one of the main snap gobblers for this defense. But Javon Holland and Verone McKinley, I guess they saw what Fedulum, crazy. Fedulum had 8 snaps, and for that one drive he was out there, he got absolutely chewed up. That one touchdown drive that ended up with Javon Holland getting beat by, I believe it was Dawson Knox or whoever it was. Whoever the hell it was. Ridiculous. Man, Noah is absolutely trash. Remember ball game, our bet. I want my money in ones, baby. But let's get into this for a sec here, okay? They had 78 snaps, 15 less, and they barely beat us again. They barely beat us, bro. Listen, Tua delivered in that weather. 29 points. Could have been more if the receivers... Listen, between Braylon Sanders not running out his route and Tyreek and Trent not catching the football, there's 11 points on the board they left right there. Plus, we wouldn't have gone for the 2-point conversion in that one situation, so really 12 points on the board. We should have scored 41 points on their dome if our receivers did their job. And if our defense did their job on third downs and got their asses off the field on 3rd and 17, we would have won anyways. Because they would have only put up 25 points. Just saying. It took all of that and 78 snaps, and they barely beat us. And it took it starting to snow. And you know what? When it started to snow, notice how we got to the 40-yard line. Their 40. What was it? Tua pushing the football. Tua pushing the football in the snow. And we got to the 40 like that. And then what happened? The bad play calling reared its ugly head. Ran the football, got into 2nd and 9 instead of running the football again against a defense that A, wasn't expecting us to run it on 2nd down because we don't do it very much, and B, hadn't stopped us for 2 1-yard or worse gains back-to-back all game, which tells me that second rush in a row would have gained us another 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, 6 yards and put us in 3rd and short. Instead, you run this screen that gets blown up, and now we're in 3rd and 12. Play calling, man. Come on. That's the coaches not putting this offense. You got receivers dropping footballs, and the coach is not putting this offense in a position to be successful with the play calling situationally and at times. That's just the facts. That is just the facts. Fuck your feelings. Those are the facts. And pardon my language to all the young ones that watch, but reason feeling it right now. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay? Let's get into the PFF grades. Because we about to put some on some domes here, okay? About to put some on some domes here. Yeah, let's do this. And hey, just because you got selective hearing, go back and watch and see if I called out Tua and his play against San Francisco. Just because you have agendas and selective hearing, don't come around here. Don't come around here, because I was one of the first people calling Tua awful, using the word awful against San Francisco. Downright awful. But just because some of y'all got selective hearing, just because some of y'all are naive to listen to people who don't know what they're talking about, don't come around here saying I don't call Tua out when he plays bad, because you're damn right I do. The receipts are out there. And some of y'all value your agendas and your hate for Tua over the team. It's clear to see. That's why some of y'all still defend Brian Flores when he ain't here. Y'all do the same for Brian Flores. You defend a man that's undefendable and he's not even here anymore. Y'all the same crew. We see it. We see it. We know exactly what time it is. We know exactly what time it is. We know exactly what time it is. Y'all still defend Flores who ain't even here because you put your feelings for that coach over the team. Stop. Look in the mirror, man. Y'all are nothing but hypocrites. Zero. Y'all are nothing but hypocrites, man. And I'm the one that calls y'all out. And I'll continue to be the one that calls y'all out. All of y'all were quiet. Like, I see some of y'all in my chat. Where were all y'all when Tua was balling out in my chat? Didn't see a single one of y'all. None one of y'all came out from under your rock, eh? Like I said earlier, from crickets to cockroaches, man. Nothing but crickets when he's playing well. Cockroaches come out of their rocks when he's not. But guess what? The last two games, if you know how to watch film, it's been on play calling and receivers. But again, you got to know how to watch film. And from some of the takes I've seen some of y'all in the community, knowing how to watch film, not your forte. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's get into the PFF grades. Let's show them. Let's show them what time it is, baby. All right. So, offensively, again, context matters for everything. You got Tua Tagovailoa down here at a 49.7 PFF grade. The same people who talk about this grade now are the same people who weren't talking about Tua when he was the highest graded quarterback in the NFL and highest graded offensive player. So I'm going to say you can't talk about it now if you weren't talking about it when it wasn't fitting your narrative. But I'm going to explain why it was so low, because PFF does it for me. Trent Sherfield was your lowest graded player. The man who dropped the touchdown pass. What's the correlation there? Because PFF's going to tell you why Tua has a 49.7 grade. They tell you why. Like, it tells you why. You got to go into the analytics. Got to do the research on PFF, though. So I'll explain that. But Trent Sherfield, wonder why he has a 39.8. Wonder what that could be. Wonder why. I don't know. Dropping an open touchdown in the end zone while people are trying to blame Tua? Unbelievable. All right. Salvin Ahmed, look at this. 6 runs. Somehow ends up being our highest graded player over Jalen Waddle and Teron Armstead. Teron Armstead was our best player on the field offensively when you look at what that man was doing with a pec. With a bum ankle and a banged up pec. And what Teron Armstead was doing, Teron Armstead was back to his normal self. Jalen Waddle, 78.4. Raheem Mostert, number 4 at a 77.3. Connor Williams at a 76.5. And Tyreek Hill at a 76.3. Those are your top 6 guys. Now, when we look at pass blocking, before we get into the receiving and I explain Tua and his grade, because it's right in front of you. Here's the pass blocking. Pressures allowed. You know what? The line was good, man. The line was damn good. Way better than it was the week before in LA. I mean, look at 2 of those pressures aren't even on the offensive line. Right? The line only allowed 4 pressures. 2 to Brandon Shell, 2 to Robert Hunt. The line was absolutely some of the best stuff we could have asked for all year. And it showed. It showed with how the offense should have moved if execution was there. All right. Let's get into passing. So we'll show this because like we do every week. This is usually different than the next gen stats. So PFF and them usually have discrepancies. Remember, PFF are volunteer guys. That, a lot of these people aren't being paid, right? So when you start off with PFF, you got to work about 20. They expect you to work about 20 to 25 hours a week, basically as an intern volunteer policy. And you actually got to work your way up to getting paid. So I don't know if people know how PFF works, but that's how it works. Because again, people remember I did some work for PFF a couple years ago. So this is how it works for them. He was 3 for 4 from beyond. He was actually on crazy from beyond the 20. 3 for 4, just ripping it up. Right here, he actually wasn't even that bad either. Right? Again, 4 for 8. You know, it was to the left. He struggled, but over into the middle and to the right side of the field, which is against his body. That's crazy. Ridiculous. And then, yeah, I mean, overall, it wasn't, and we'll see. It should have been a lot better. All right? So, you know what? We'll go through this, okay? And then I got to show y'all something here. I got to show y'all this, okay? So, check this out. This is going to be, you're going to see exactly why everything suffered, okay? So, Tua Tagovailoa. When he was kept clean, he was 14 of 23 for 2 touchdowns, 216 yards. His completion percentage was 60.9. His adjusted completion percentage was actually 71.4. Okay? Under pressure, he was 3 of 7, right? For a 42.9 completion percentage and 18 yards. But his adjusted completion percentage, 57.1. You're already starting to see an occurring theme here. When he was not blitzed, he was 9 of 17 for 52.9. His adjusted completion percentage, after drops and everything taken into consideration, 62.5. When he was blitzed, his completion percentage, he was 8 of 13 for a touchdown. 80, what was that? And as well as 98 yards and a 61.5 completion percentage. His adjusted completion percentage, 75%. Let's go. So he was 17 of 30 for a 56.7 completion percentage, right? You see it right down here at the bottom. His adjusted completion percentage, ladies and gentlemen, 67.9%. Tua Tagovailoa should have had a almost 70% game, and it could have been even better because those drives would have been extended. Now, you look at this and you say, okay, well, I only see, there's 4 drops, 2 drops accounted for here, right? Now, the problem is when we come down and where are you? You are. Let me find it here. Give me 1 second here, people. Where'd it go? Just give me 1 second here. Okay. All right. When you look at the drops here, right? When you go in the drops are affecting his whole completion percentage, and that's bringing everything down, right? Plus, you're taking away yardage off the field, and you are taking potential touchdowns off the board, which are automatically going to boost up his grade. Tua should have probably graded in the low 70s. When you add everything up here, the drops and everything, right? You should have been up to, and really again, right? Like, they're only accounting for 2 drops here. But, I mean, we had multiple drops in the first couple drives, so we say that's always about. I think right here they're counting the Sherfield and the Waddle drops because that's why the Sherfield and the Hill drops, that's why Sherfield's grade is so low, is it correlates to this, right? Because that's going to be a short drop. So they didn't even count Tyreek as a drop. When you watch the film, it was a drop. They're saying his 2 drops, right? 1 drop came from medium, 1 drop came from short. But when we watch the film tomorrow, we're going to count about, 5, 6 drops. And this is what's affecting his grade so hard. Like, this short drop, right? That takes not only completion, but a touchdown off the board, right? This medium, 10 to 19 yards, that takes a completion and, more off the board. So, you look at his adjusted completion percentage. If this man would have walked out with his 67.9 adjusted completion percentage, because remember, there's no miss. So no one, like the Braylon Sanders throw, that would get graded against Braylon Sanders. That would not get graded against Tua Tagovailoa. But at the same sense, even though it's graded against the receiver, had he done his job, that grade now works out for both him and Tua. So that's what I'm sitting here saying. It's deeper. That's why when you look at these completions over this field, you're like, okay, why is it so bad? And it's because you look at what the adjusted completion percentage should be compared to what it is. Look at the meat that's on the bone, right? 56.7 completion percentage is not good. 67.9 is like, top 5 in the NFL right now. Difference, right? Like, it affects it. And then again, obviously, stats get affected. So, and also he is going to get charged for, like, when he made that throw, like, for example, you go to the Chargers game, when he made that dumb throw to Tyreek, right? When he didn't read the flats and he made like one of his few bad throws against the Chargers, that's going to be a turnover-worthy throw, and that's going to just plummet you, right? So, but look what happens, right? Under pressure, he had 2 turnover-worthy plays, right? That's going to affect your grade. Hard. So, listen, again, context. It's the same thing. It goes to Javon Holland. Same reason Javon Holland's struggling right now this year at times is because of what's around him. You got a broken down X. You got rookies and third stringers filling in for where Byron Jones and Nick Needham usually are, and his responsibilities are through the roof, and he's doing things he didn't do. It's just, again, things around you matter, right? Environments matter and can affect your play. So Andrew Van Ginkel on only 14 snaps ended up being the top-rated player. I really don't count guys unless they've been out there for 20 snaps or more. Jalen Phillips, though, number 2 again. Jalen Phillips continues to be arguably. Is Jalen Phillips the best player on this team right during this losing stretch? It's either him, Sealer, or Wilkins. I would have to give. They're holding this defense together, man. They really are. Jerome Baker, Christian Wilkins, they round out. Raekwon Davis making an appearance. Bottom, Landon Roberts, Duke Riley, Clayton Fedulum. No surprise there. Sometimes the grade's back. I've always said this. Listen, I don't really mess with PFF. I just go over it. I like more the analytics. Like, I'm more interested here in, like, the pressures and, the tackling, the missed tackling stats, the coverage stats, what's the passer rating when someone's targeted. Grades to me are very, like, you don't know who's grading because a lot of these people aren't paid. And a lot of these people are football fans trying to get their foot in the door. So, for example, you could have a Chiefs fan grading a Chargers game, and the Chiefs hate the Chargers because of Herbert's success against Mahomes, right? You could have a Ravens fan grading a Bengals game because the Bengals, and they hate each other, right? So, like, the grades to me, like, there's an article you can find, they explain how they grade quarterbacks, but, like, they don't explain. Like, we need detailed explanations of grading so we can do our own math and see if their grades match up. But we need our own, like, every position needs to have it lined up of how we grade these people. So, and, like, linebacking grades, especially offensive line and defensive front 7, I need detailed explanations of how you grade those players. I really do. Because, again, I told y'all, I've done work for PFF, and I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but when I did work for PFF, some of the film they sent me, they didn't even send me all 22. Now, I got all the college all 22. I got access to it. I got libraries and libraries of it. That's why when I do my college breakdowns, I, attach all 22 of all these players. They were sending me broadcast footage, and I'm like, what is this? Like one of the games they wanted me to chart for them was the LSU Clemson National Championship game, and they sent it to me, and it was the broadcast footage, and bro, the first few drives for LSU, they kept zooming in on Joe Burrow, right? So you wouldn't even be able to see the coverage look from Clemson, right? Until far into post snap when it finally pans out to the broadcast view. And I was like, what is this? You're having to, because I was doing something different. I was having to chart players where they were aligned, how many snaps they were having at, so like, 3 tech, wherever you got to be, 5-0, all that kind of stuff. I had to detail where they were lined up and how many snaps they had. Bro, I was like, what is this? So I did it for them, but I just went to my own library and used my own all 22. It was terrible. It was ridiculous, man. So that's why their grades, I'm very like, I don't know. Because, Anyways. So let's go to the coverage matchup. So you look at Darth Cater, and he was targeted 9 times, allowed 6 receptions for 60 yards, 4 first downs, had a drop by Stephon Diggs, but he also had a pass breakup on Gabriel Davis. Xavier Howard, he was targeted 5 times, allowed 3 receptions for 26 yards and 2 first downs. Jerome Baker, he allowed 2 first downs and a touchdown on 4 receptions when he was targeted 5 times. He allowed a total of 64 yards. You look at Keon Crossan, allowed 4 receptions on 4 targets for 56 yards and 2 first downs. Landon Roberts allowed 3 receptions on 3 targets for 40. Bro, every week I talk about how bad our second level coverage is. And oh my God, look at these. Jerome Baker, like 64 yards. Landon Roberts, 45 yards. Oh my God. Noah Benogany, they only have him allowed 1 reception. 15 yards. I thought he allowed more than that. Justin Bethel. See? Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Bethel had a pass breakup. We pointed that out live. Look at PFF didn't charge him with the pass breakup. See? Right there. Where's Justin Bethel's pass breakup? We literally saw him get his ball on the hands and knock it down. So, I don't know, They charged it as a drop when Justin Bethel broke up the play. Anyways, Duke Riley, 1 reception, the Singletary touchdown on 2 targets. He also had a drop. Dawson Knox had a drop. Javon Holland allowed 1 reception on 2 targets for a touchdown. Verone McKinley targeted once, 0. Verone McKinley been a stud. Clayton Fedulum, he was targeted twice. They only have him once, but he was targeted twice, and he allowed 1. So I don't know what they're looking at, but yeah, I'm just saying. Noah graded higher than X. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Who's got the agenda at PFF? Eh? They both should be in the gutter. Let's be honest with it. Let's keep it a buck. All right, let's go through the passing charts. And something to point out. Okay, let's go into this right here. We'll start off with Josh Allen. All right, starting off with Josh Allen here. Look at, one of those came in the pocket. One of those touchdown passes came in the pocket. The other 2 just other 3 extending drives. Just outside the hashes to the left, and then both clearly outside the hashes. But good ball distribution by Josh Allen again. MVP candidate. We knew it. He lit us up last time for over 400 yards. But you got to shake this guy, man. You got to you got to hit him when he gets out of the pocket so he second guesses moving with his legs. And you got to keep pressuring him to, impact his timing and his rhythm as a passer, and then you can impact his throws. But Josh Allen, 25 of 40, 304, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Spreading the ball around. Hey, I ain't going to knock him, right? After what we've seen the last 2 weeks, we saw dink and dunk central from Brock Purdy and Justin Herbert. So I'm going to give Josh Allen his flowers and give him his respect for moving the ball around and hitting all different levels on us. Now, once he got beyond 20 yards, he was not as good as Tua was this game, but in front of 20 yards, he was killer. So give him his due. And beyond 15 yards and beyond 10 yards, he was good too. So give him his due. You know what I mean? So I ain't going to hate on Josh Allen. He got it done. So, All right, now let's get into see, and I'm so proud of y'all in the chats talking it out right now, man. Y'all, you can make me smile, man. All y'all getting up. And like I said, Kari, I see you in the chat, bro. You always welcome here, bro. You always welcome here. Don't think you ain't welcome here, number one. And number two, man, let's just root for all these MFers to be successful, because when they're successful, we're successful. And listen, I was the last person that was being obnoxious when Tua was balling out, because I didn't ask for any of y'all to apologize that doubted Tua Tagovailoa. I just asked for all of y'all to admit you were wrong, because y'all told me he could never do things like that. But we're all grown men. I don't need apologies over football takes. That's ridiculous, okay? I just needed people to admit they were wrong. That's it. Other than that, we're good. I think everyone just needs to root for everyone's success. Whether you're the number one player on this team or the 53rd player on this team, I don't care who you are. Just like, listen, I was leading the McDaniel train. I've been leading the McDaniel train since last year when we were looking for an OC. And I'll be the first to admit his situational play calling and his reluctance to ride with the run game is very detrimental to this offense and to this logo right now. And he is holding us back from winning football games. And I started the McDaniel train, and I'll be the first to tell all y'all that. So even with players, some of y'all, or coaches, some people might think I'm subjective with, I'll be the first, just like I was the first one to say Tua was awful, downright disgustingly awful against San Francisco, missing routine throws we've seen him make all year. I got no problem calling out people I like. No issue with that. And McDaniel is he's holding us back right now. Not just Tua, he's holding this offense back from being more successful right now. He needs to get it together, and he needs to stop being stubborn. All right? When Mozart's saying, feed me, feed the damn man. Mozart, you want me to tell y'all something? I think if you would have fed Mozart 30 times yesterday, I think you might have had almost a 200-yard game. I think we would have had 170, 180 yards on the ground from Raheem Mostert if you would have fed that man the ball. You know what? Salvin Ahmed, he did what he did with his carries. I got no complaints. But no. It's the same thing we did under the Flores regime. Gaskin would get going, and then we'd trot out Jordan Howard, and we'd say, now, obviously, Salvin Ahmed gave us better results than Jordan Howard yesterday, but we'd trot out Jordan Howard when it's like, why? Gaskin's telling y'all, give me the ball. Same thing with Tennessee last year. Tua in the offense, Waddle was being shut down. They were just collapsing on it, taking him away, and that was Tua's main read because everyone else was trashed last year. So they took Tua away. Duke Johnson screaming, feed me. And we don't give him the ball. You give him the ball 30 times in Tennessee, and you live and you die by that sword. You fall on that sword in that game. There are certain games, even when you have elite quarterbacks, you're going to have to live and die by the run. That's what's going to happen. That's football. That's the NFL. That's the greatest athletes in the world and some of the most brilliant defensive minds in the world. That's what's going to happen, man. And McDaniel, buddy, our running fade, and I'm sorry I'm ranting, but I got things to say. Our running game was slapping him in the face like it was in Cleveland. Look at Cleveland was our best complete game because we had that balance. You didn't know whether we were going to shred you with Tua or we were going to kill you on the ground with Wilson or Mostert. And we were all worried. Listen, we don't got Wilson. Is Mostert going to be able to be the bell cow? And Mostert answered that damn call on Saturday and said, I can be your bell cow the rest of the way in tonight. And for some reason, on 3rd and 1, on 3rd and 2, we were in that situation about 5 different times, and we ran it once with that very creative, might I add you, fullback dive to Ingold. And lo and behold, it worked. Gee golly whiz. Because you know what? Just because if you run the ball a few times doesn't mean they're going to unclog the field. Doesn't mean, okay, they ran it. They got 100 yards in the first half. Let's just abandon taking away the middle of the field and let Tyreek in. No, they still didn't believe us because we still weren't running on even key second downs where we should be running. We were running the football. They still weren't believing us. And what do you do when someone doesn't believe? You keep running the football because you're going to keep catching them by surprise. And you know what I'm pissed off at? That I think McDaniel is a brilliant schemer. I think he has brilliant play designs. The play calling, it's like reps at any position, right? You're going to get better in time. But what really disheartens me is, I think this guy is brilliant. I really do. But how does the guy on YouTube know what to do in these situations, and the guy who I think is brilliant is messing it up? I take issue with that. I really do. He's got to be better. He's got to be better. Now, Tua Tagovailoa in his passing chart. All right. This is Tua. Leaving that open side of the football field just open, man. Now, again, it's different than what we saw last week. They tried to keep it a little short. Really heavy to that right side, eh? Really heavy to that right side, which is crazy to me because Tre'Davious White was over there a whole hell of a lot. And, yeah. I mean, not as pretty as Josh Allen. I mean, still tried to distribute the football a little bit. Listen, some of these whites should be greens. I don't know what else to tell you. So, is what it is. 17 of 13. Should have probably been about 22 of 30 for about 300 yards. Well, if we're going to add in Braylon Sanders, then he should have been about, 22, 23 of 30. Should have been just over 300 yards, and he should have probably had about 4 tubs. If Sherfield or Tyreek make the catch they should have made on that drive, and we turn those points, and Sanders does his job, he's got a 300-yard game. He's like 22, 23 of 30, and we're good. Well, that would have made him 19 of 30, but you know what I mean. He would have had more completions probably. Anyways, so painful when you look at that white and you know it's missed opportunities, man. Like, look at that one at 30. That's the Sanders throw. Oh, painful. So many points left on the field, man. It just... And what's crazy is we weren't leaving them on the field at the beginning of the season. And if we left some on the field, we made them up. All right, let's get into the next-gen stats. All right, Tua Tagovailoa, longest completed air distance in the game, 41.3 yards. Josh Allen, 34.9. Raheem Mostert was the fastest ball carrier, got up to 21.23 miles per hour on that long run, that 60-plus yard run. Josh Allen got up to 18.7, which is crazy. Fastest sack, look at Phillips, 4.1 seconds. My God. Matt Milano, 3.1 seconds. Hold on a sec here. I got to look at something. Actually, you know what? We're going to go look at it after this on Next Gen Stats. We're going to do something different here, okay? Passing, you see Tua. Look at it's different already. We can see that it's different than PFF. Tua was, it was decent from, the intermediate to deep level, obviously. And then, obviously, some issues short, but drops, right? It happens. So, you see Josh Allen just pushing that ball around, man. Just pushing that ball around. Still above the league average in 4 areas, right? Average in 2 of them and below average in 2 of them. While you look at this man, he was above average in 5 areas, average in 2 of them, and he was below average in 4 areas as well. Rushing, Raheem Mostert, a lot of success to that right edge. 5 attempts for 91 yards. Even inside the gaps to the right side, 5 attempts for 24 yards. Off that left edge, though, nothing to be slouched at. 3 carries for 16 yards. Ahmed, again, that right edge, man. Getting off that right edge. Can't wait to watch the film and really break it down. Well, I'll be breaking down the past stuff with Martin tomorrow, but I want to see how we were in run sets here. Singletary found some success running in the interior, which is rare because it doesn't usually happen here. Josh Allen, interior as well, and James Cook off that left edge. You look at receiving, the league average in separation is 2.93 yards. Waddle was under it at 1.79. Hill under it at 1.69. Wilson way under it at 0.55. Gesicki way over it at 6.51. And Smythe over it at 4.09. While them, Knox over it at 4.02. Diggs under it at 2.19. Gabe Davis over at 3.25 yards. Isaiah McKenzie and Cole Beasley both under it at 2.6 yards, 2.16 yards, and 2.08 yards respectively. And then Jalen Phillips once again emerging as the top guy in terms of average separation from the quarterback. League average is 4.53 yards. Phillips was about 4.58 yards. Zach Steeler was 4.97. Wilkins 5.18, and Bradley Chubb low there, where we've seen him at the top of this list a lot since we acquired him, but not this week at 5.4 yards. Shaq Lawson, look at that, gets a sack, tackle, an assist, forced fumble, 4.44 yards. Greg Russo 4.53 yards, and then so on and so forth. You see it. And then quickly, another thing I wanted to show you guys here, because I actually haven't even looked at it. So it would be interesting to see. I want to see what Josh Allen's time to throw was here. So, okay, who was the most? Okay, so let's go with this. All right, so this is for Week 15. So for Week 15, Tua had the second lowest time to throw behind Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was 2.3 seconds. Tua Tagovailoa was 2.36. There you go. Josh Allen, 2.88 seconds. So Josh Allen had basically a half a second longer on average than Tua did. 2.88 seconds. And we saw some real ones where the man had like 5-6 seconds. Like that's why I can't put that Jerome Baker, even though I'm not a Jerome Baker fan, I can't put that touchdown on him in the back of the end zone. I mean, the guy was having to hold his coverage for 6 seconds. Coverage already isn't his strength. What did we expect to happen, right? I don't think that's fair. So, all right, Barry Jackson exploring 10 reasons why the Dolphins defense has badly regressed. I'm telling y'all, the defense, it's not what it was. So, how does a Dolphins defense that returned most everybody and added a Pro Bowl pass rusher at midseason regress from pretty good and very good for most of the second half of the season to one of the league's bottom 5th units in many key statistical categories? The Dolphins have gone from 6th in average points permitted per game in 2020 to 15th last season, to 27th this season at 24.6. Among AFC teams, only the Houston Texans relinquish as many points per game as the Dolphins. The Dolphins are slightly better, 23rd in yards allowed per game. They're allowing 357.6. The Dolphins retained most of this defense based on the assumption that their strong work over the final 9 games last season was a reflection of how good they were, not the mediocrity of 7 of the 9 quarterbacks they faced during those games. But injuries and other factors have led to a significant regression despite strong play from several, including Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, Zach Seiler, and Kader Kohu. Here's exploring 10 reasons for the defensive unraveling. Number 1, they're the league's worst defense on the road, which we've talked about like every week we're on the road. We talk about it on this channel, whether it's a Finish Line or this show. Defensive coordinator Josh Boyer has been unable to explain this when asked, but the road numbers are grotesque. The Dolphins are permitting 31.5 points per game on the road. Seattle's next worst at 28.4. As perspective, the AFC rival Bills and Jets yield 18 points per game on the road. New England at 21.1. On the road, the Dolphins are permitting a stunning 109.9 passer rating, better than any individual quarterback in the league, and far higher than the 84.6 they allow at home. 6 yards per play compared to 4.8 at home, and 16 touchdown passes and 1 interception on the road compared with 8 touchdowns allowed at home and 6 interceptions at home. And here's one more tidbit. On the road, the Dolphins sacked the quarterback only 5.4% of his dropbacks compared with 7.3% at home. The Dolphins have played more top quarterbacks on the road in Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen than they have at home, only Allen and Kirk Cousins. But there's more to it than that. Losing 4 key players to injuries, Byron Jones, Brandon Jones, Emmanuel Ogbah, and Nick Needham. Though undrafted rookie starting cornerback Kader Kohou has exceeded anybody's reasonable expectations. Don't underestimate the loss of Byron Jones after March surgery and a subsequent setback that has sidelined him all season. Mike McDaniel said he's not counting on a return this season. The defensive philosophy was built around the notion of having two shutdown corners, Jones and Xavier Howard. And even though Ogba was having a quiet year, he led the league in passes batted down the past 2 years to go along with 18 sacks. Needham's injury has left the Dolphins scrambling to find a third and nickel corner. And Dolphins' blitzes have been less effective after losing Brandon Jones, whose 7 sacks led all NFL safeties from the start of 2021 through mid-October 2022. They can't get off the field on third downs. The Dolphins are allowing opponents to convert 43.7% of their third downs into first downs, which is 6th worst in the league. That's up from 41.1 last year. The Chargers were 9 for 18 against the Dolphins on third down, and the Bills converted 8 of 14. The pass defense has unraveled. Part of that is the byproduct of the loss of 2 defensive starters in Byron Jones and Brandon Jones. But also hurtful was the October loss of Nick Needham, who played more than 50% of the snaps when Byron Jones and Xavier Howard were healthy last year. And Howard's difficult season, partly a result of groin injuries, cannot be glossed over. Last season, Howard permitted an 88.2 passer rating against him with 5 interceptions. This season, it's 125.5 and 1 interception. That passer rating is 4th highest in the league against cornerbacks targeted at least 40 times. He's allowed 15.8 yards per reception, 2nd highest among corners who have permitted at least 30 receptions. And though Kohou has been very solid, here's the corrosive effect of losing Byron Jones and Needham. Keon Crossan, who played just 2% of the Giants' offensive snaps last season, has had to play 32% this season as Miami's number 3 corner, and he's allowing a 133.6 passer rating against him and 15.4 yards per reception on 16 catches. Overall, Miami's pass defense is permitting a 98.2 passer rating compared with 85.4 last season. Only Arizona, Kansas City, and Las Vegas have yielded a higher passer rating this season. The linebackers, except for Duke Riley, also have poor passer ratings in coverage, including 107.6 against Baker and 117.5 against Roberts. The linebackers continue to struggle to defend tight ends and running backs. Takeaways, a lack of. Only the Saints, Raiders, and Giants have fewer interceptions than the Dolphins, 7. Only 8.5% of the Dolphins' opponents' drives end in a turnover, 7th worst in the league. Their .9 takeaways per game are 3rd fewest in the league. The pass rush isn't as good as it was expected to be. Though the Dolphins are slightly above average in sacks, tied for 13th with 35, their 20.2 pressure rate is 21st, and they're 18th in quarterback knockdowns per pass attempt. Bradley Chubb, who has 26 sacks in 49 games for Denver, has 2.5 in 6 games in Miami and comes off a quiet 2-tackle, no-sack game in Buffalo. Every defensive lineman in the Dolphins has combined for just 7 sacks, 2 fewer than defensive end Ogba had on his own last season. The Dolphins don't get to the quarterback nearly enough with 4-man rushes, and their blitzes this year, particularly without Brandon Jones, are less effective than a year ago. The red zone defense isn't good enough. Of the 50 times that teams have penetrated Miami's 20-yard line, they've scored touchdowns on 31 of those 50. That 62% is 7th worst in the league. Last year, the Dolphins permitted touchdowns on only 52% of opponents' forays into the red zone. They allow far too many yards after the catch, 1,695. Only Arizona, Minnesota, and Seattle have permitted more. Part of that is the byproduct of missed tackles. Miami has 61 of those, 15th in the league. Conversely, the Dolphins are 13th best in the NFL in air yards yielded at 1,665. Lack of dominant play at linebacker. Jerome Baker hasn't been bad. He's 16th among 83 linebackers ranked by PFF, and he's 43rd in the NFL with 89 tackles. Landon Roberts, rated 69th of 83 by PFF, has had several stops in short yardage situations. But Miami could badly use a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker who consistently impacts games. Finding help at the position must be an offseason priority. It's unclear what the Dolphins have in third-round rookie Channing Tindall, who has played 9 defensive snaps all season. Consider this. The Dolphins don't have an interception, forced fumble, or fumble recovery from any of their inside linebackers this season. Boyer blitzed Baker far less than he did 2 years ago, and his sacks have dropped from 7 to 4. With the Dolphins having limited cap space next offseason, the question is whether they try to clear out money to add a difference-making inside linebacker. Their best player needed to play better, and too many coaching decisions haven't worked out. Every coach is accountable, and when his unit underperforms, and coordinator Josh Boyer is no exception. But it would be presumptuous to say Brian Flores' absence explains the defensive decline. The Dolphins and Boyer say Boyer called plays for every game last season, and he has again this season. One difference noted by a Dolphins player, Flores sometimes popped his head in defensive meetings with input suggestions, while McDaniel doesn't. Flores might change a call during a game. McDaniel gives Boyer total authority. A few calls have been glaringly poor, including dropping several players into the end zone on a 3rd and goal from 17 against the Chargers. Los Angeles gained 16 yards and scored on the ensuing play. Too many blitzes haven't yielded the desired results, and the mediocre linebacker play in Boyer's aggressive scheme with the edge players coming hard around the edge often leaves them vulnerable in the middle of the field against mobile quarterbacks, as Josh Allen has repeatedly exposed. People have been more in tune to some of our blitzes, Boyer said. And Boyer probably should have played Andrew Van Ginkel more. His snaps have dropped significantly this season. But the Pro Bowl players also need to play better, starting with Howard and Chubb. Second-year starter Javon Holland, while still good, hasn't yet become a Pro Bowl safety. PFF has dropped him from 4th last season to 36th this season among all safeties. He's allowing a 111.9 passer rating in his coverage area, with 18 completions for 231 yards and 3 touchdowns, which clears this. The defense simply must play better to close the season against the teams that are in the bottom half of the league in scoring: Green Bay, New York, England, and the Jets. You want me to tell you something? Let me be honest with you. If this defense gets better situationally on 3rd down and gets better on the road, this defense is going to be, we'll be just fine with this defense. But they need to get better play calling wise situationally on 3rd down, and they need to get better when it comes, quite frankly, they need to get better when it comes to road games. It's unacceptable what they are on the road. It really is. And just an update for you guys, a few updates like we do every week. Here are the 61% chance to make the playoffs. Now, if we lose to the Packers, it drops us to 46%. But if we beat the Jets and we beat the Patriots, we are in. We are in. And listen, I mean, it just is what it is, right? Like, if look at, it's only a 92% chance if we lose one of these games. It's actually, got to beat the Jets no matter what. Let's be honest. But you win out, you're in. You win just these 2 games, you're pretty much in. So, again, we can afford to lose this week. But let's not fool ourselves here. Okay? We need to get it done. Win out. Nothing left to do but win out. Win out. All right? In case you guys did not see today, let me bring this up for y'all. Here, I'll zoom in for you guys too. Tua Tyreek, Tyreek Hill, they led the way, number 1 and 2 in terms of player voting for the Pro Bowl. So, and then Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, and Kelsey rounded it out. The Miami Dolphins had the 3rd most votes by team. San Fran and Minnesota were number 1 and 2. So, Tua Tagovailoa voted in. Other players voted in, though. Alec Ingold got voted in. He's going to be a starter. Tyreek got voted in. And Teron Armstead, look at that. The Dolphins, we have no players on defense that made it. But we have 4 players on offense that were voted in. Now, obviously, the team's got to be filled out, and they will be filled out, so we'll see if any more Dolphin players make it. But as it stands right now, 4 Dolphin players have made it just through the first round of voting. Tua, Tyreek, Alec Ingold, and Teron Armstead have made the Pro Bowl so far. So there you go, 4 offensive players, and it's only going to get more probably. And then, hey, I don't shy away from it like we do every week. We look at Tua's efficiency, and he's gone from dominating every week. He was number 1 all the way up until the San Fran game. Now, when you look at him, he's still behind Mahomes. He's still, only number 2 to Mahomes in terms of EPA, but he has fallen behind Hurts and Burrow and a little behind Dak Prescott in terms of completion percentage above expected. So he's 4th in completion percentage above expected, but on the good side, right? But he's number 2 in EPA still. So still giving you top 3 efficiency in the NFL as it stands right now. Weeks 1 through 15, he still remains a top 3 efficient quarterback in the NFL. Gotta love it, baby. Got to love it. Man, that was a jam-packed show. Jam-packed. Appreciate all of you for spending some of your Monday night. Please do me the huge favor. Just smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Got new merchandise up. If you want to donate to the channel, you can do so through the Super Chat. You can also do so through PayPal. I actually just got a Tua Time hoodie delivered from the store. So maybe I'll try and rock that soon so y'all can see the Tua Time hoodie. Guys, Christmas. We're going to be sharing Christmas together, ladies and gentlemen. All of us. Christmas time. We're going to be sharing some of our Christmas day with each other this weekend. It's going to be beautiful. Tomorrow night, me and Martin will be back. We're going to break down the all 22 of this game. Then, on Wednesday, ball game in Richmond. The finish line returns. And then, Friday, we will be live for the preview show. And then Saturday, you already know what time it is. Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right, let's go beat those Packers. Come on, defense. Listen, at least 2 of these last 3 games are at home. Let's get it done. And Tua hasn't lost in New England, so let's get it done, man. Listen, I expected us to be 9-2 after our first 11 games. If you go back to our prediction show, we ended up being 8-3. I projected us to be 3-3 over our last 6. I projected losses to Buffalo, to San Fran, and who's the other one? To Green Bay. We can still go 3-3 and finish 11-6. So let's get it done because I have us finishing 12-5. So let's get it done, baby. You already know what time it is. I will see all y'all tomorrow. Love all y'all. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Fins up all day, every day. Smash that like button on the way out. Appreciate all y'all. Fins up, baby.